What's up guys, Intelitech Mobile here, and there's a lot of talk these days about Apple's new interface design. I already forgot what it was called, but the point is that it's supposed to be somewhat spiritually based off of the arrow theme from Windows Vista. And as a local Windows Vista connoisseur, I thought it'd be right that I properly honor one of the greatest operating systems to ever grace this earth, and that is not exaggeration, hyperbole, or sarcasm. So, this right here, which you can't really see it yet because there's stuff in the way, is my ThinkPad T500. Here is our copy of Windows Vista Ultimate, which we may or may not be using to install Vista on this machine. I'll talk about that in a sec. And here's the SSD that we definitely will be installing Vista on, the Samsung SSD 840 120 gig. I love this SSD because it has the trim, the sort of metallic trim that reminds me of also one of my favorite Samsung smartphones. So, quite nice. And it's about the same age too. Now, it's very important that we use a Samsung SSD if we are going to install Vista on an SSD because, well, trim. Vista does not natively support trim. You don't get that functionality built in until Windows 7. So if you want to install Vista on an SSD and have it be properly optimized, technically you can still install it and it will work just fine. Just make sure you turn off the automatic drive, not trim, what's the word? Defragmentation. You can still use it, but if you want to get full performance out of your SSD, it's ideal that you use an SSD that has its own trim software that can manually replace the trim functionality that otherwise would be built in newer versions of Windows. So Samsung SSDs are some of the few SSDs that I'm aware of, if not the only, that you can still get. Granted, it's not going to be up to date at this point, but you can still get the trim software for XP and Vista. So we are going to be using the Samsung SSD to install Vista on to get the maximum amount of speed and experience. Now here is our lovely copy of Windows Vista Ultimate. Now this one's an upgrade copy, and this is to touch on the thing that I was mentioning earlier about how we may or may not be actually using this disk, and that's because it's an upgrade copy. Now, the version of Windows Vista that this machine originally came with was Windows Vista Business. And remember that this is the only version of Windows where it's called Business instead of Pro or Professional, although I did write Professional on the disk. Business, at least if you're wanting to actually properly activate Windows Vista, if you have an upgrade copy, you can't install it directly. You need to actually install Vista Business, activate it, and then run the update program. Problem is the update program doesn't work very well anymore because the Anytime Upgrade software doesn't exist anymore. You can from what I understand and remember, you can do an in-place upgrade, but it's kind of annoying because you're going from Vista to Vista and you're introducing a bunch of other things. So, for now, I'm debating, and I'm going to make the decision within the next few seconds, but I'm debating on if we should install Vista Business. I almost said Pro because that's what I wrote on the disk. If we should install Vista Business, since that's what this machine originally came with, or if we should skip and go to Ultimate. We could either go to Ultimate on the disk that's in here, which would be very fancy, but then we can't activate it. Or we can use a copy of Ultimate where that's, for one reason or another, not to get into specifics, where activation is not a factor, which I don't really know if I want to use one of those types of disks because, again, I can run a legitimate copy. So I think what I'm going to do for this video is we're going to install Vista Business, because most of these videos that you see tend to install Vista Ultimate or Vista Home Premium. They never tend to install Vista Business, at least not from the ones that I've watched. So we're going to install Vista Business, and this is more so just going to be for display. But if there's enough likes on this video and if there's enough requests for it, then I may do a separate video on doing an in-place upgrade from Vista Business to Vista Ultimate if people care about watching a video about that in 2025. I know I do because I'm weird and I love videos on old versions of Windows. That's just something I've always been obsessed with. But if you're not, I understand. So here's the machine in question. We're going to zoom out a little bit using our wide angle lens. And here is our Lenovo ThinkPad T500, which I've had this for a very, very long time. And I'm going to try not to not to reveal the product key since I am going to use it, but there you can see some specs. Probably not, actually. I don't know if it'll even focus on that. Probably not. Are you going to focus? It's not going to focus. Thank you, Note 20 Ultra, for not focusing. All right, so this there's nothing really interesting on here. Copyright 2005, 2008 Lenovo. Yeah, anyways, so we're going to install the SSD in this machine, which does require some finagling, and then we're going to install Vista. So, right off the bat, I've got this other SSD that this has Windows 7 on it, which was in here. So we're gonna have to unscrew these screws and pop the Samsung SSD into this drive sled so that we can pop it in the system. So we're going to do that really quick off camera. All right, there's our 4 screws. Pop out this SSD, and then we're going to pop this one in. Let me make sure it's the right orientation. Yes, it is. Now I did, as you can tell from the label, I did at one point install Vista on this SSD, but I tried to install the extended kernel, and that ended up messing up the entire installation, and then hardly anything worked on it. And I couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I just gave up. And I, at the time, installed Windows 10 on it. This would have been probably a year ago. And I hadn't touched this machine in a long time because, frankly, an old ThinkPad with Windows 10 isn't really all that interesting. Especially now that I have a much newer ThinkPad, which also runs Windows 10, so it kind of defeated the purpose of using this older machine, because I actually do quite like the newer ThinkPad keyboards a lot more than these older models. Although these older models are no slouch, and they're definitely a lot more analogous to a proper desktop keyboard, especially back then. So they have their place, and I will always have a soft spot for any ThinkPad, whether old Lenovo, new Lenovo, or IBM. So this is now installed. We're going to grab our little sleds or gaskets, whatever you want to call these, and we're going to install this in the machine. Now, the way that this works, this is probably way too close for you to be able to see this, but the way this works is you actually put this in upside down like that, and that's where it slides in. We're gonna tuck, you probably can't see it, sorry for the angle, there we go. So we're gonna tuck in, do the wide angle lens, there we go. So you can see that's already sliding in there. We're gonna tuck the tab in and push it in just like that. Now it's fully installed, and now on mine, this little bracket that covers this, the screw port is actually damaged. So, and I'll show you that real quick. So you can see the other half of that screw edge is snapped off. If it'll focus. So yeah, it's actually snapped off there. So it's not really going to thread properly. So we are going to click. We're going to click that into place, even though the screw head's not gonna, it's not gonna stay on, but it's fine. Even when I traveled with this thing, you know, for a while, I'm honestly surprised this never popped off with how loose it is. Because I honestly, if I had lost it, that would have given me a good excuse to buy another one anyways. Now, where is that screw? Okay, here it is. I had the copy of Vista on top of it. We're gonna put, oh, there's a hair on it. We're gonna put that screw in right there. Now, trying to get this lined up is a pain because, again, there's no threads for it to really sink into, so I'm probably gonna get this wrong. Yeah, I don't think that's doing anything. Yeah. Okay. So it's definitely not in correctly, but it's fine. This is going to be sitting here anyways. All right, so I'm going to plug it into the... Hit the space bar. All right, so we're going to plug in America. So we're going to plug in the machine. Even though I don't think it's dead, we're still going to plug it in. Battery on this still holds the charge, although not a very long charge as you'd expect for an old ThinkPad. I apologize for the desk clutter as well. But there's our Puny. We'll move our Puny, which ironically is the biggest SATA SSD I have. It's 500 gigs. But again, no Vista drivers, or else we would have put that in here. All right, so we're going to open this up, and I did replace the Vista sticker that was missing on this. I don't think that's the right spot where it would have gone, but I don't care. But yeah, because when I got this, that Vista sticker was missing, but I pulled one off of a different machine that I got in at work, and it pulled off really, really cleanly, because I didn't want the customer to think it had Vista on it anyways, because it didn't. It had Windows 11. So we're going to turn this on, and we're going to grab our Vista Business disk, and we're going to pop that in there, and we're going to press our ThinkVantage button to pause the startup. Press enter to pause. There we go. And now we can zoom in on the screen, since that is now our main focus. Okay. And we're going to press F1 to enter the BIOS setup utility, because I believe at one point I changed the hard drive configuration. Yes, I did. So let's change that back to AHCI. Although I'll probably have to do that later whenever we do a video on Windows XP. So we're going to save and exit. And I forgot is it F12 to boot from a device? I think that's right, but I'll press the ThinkVantage button just in case. Yes, F12. Oh, quit yelling at me. Okay, it did not like that. I want the beeps off. I don't like the beeps. Oh, they're all disabled. Okay, that's strange. So, okay. All right. I guess we'll... okay. There we go. All right, DVD RAM. And we're gonna boot. Press any key to boot from CD or DVD. You know what? I changed my mind. Let's do Vista Ultimate. I know, I'm very indecisive, but let's just go all in, because I can reinstall this if need be. It's not a huge deal. Let's just go Ultimate, because that's more fun. No, oh my god, I'm so indecisive. I'm sorry. Nope, no. We're gonna do this the right way. We're gonna do Vista Business. This is a proper ISO. It's not messed up in any way. We're gonna do this the correct way. We're not gonna do anything goofy. We're gonna do business. We're gonna do this the right way. We're gonna do this the correct way. Yes, and I'm not gonna rip it out while it's trying to boot this time. There we go. We're gonna let it do its thing. So Windows is loading files. Another reason why I'm not using the disk is because the disk is the RTM of Windows Vista, whereas these ISOs that I burned have Service Pack 2 already integrated into the ISO. Which these days, if you're going to try to run Vista, and you're not just doing a cheap video where you're just going to, like, you know, immediately delete it afterwards. I'm actually going to try to use this. So we are going to fully update it up until April of 2017, and might even potentially throw a couple Server 2008 updates on this. I don't know yet. But yeah, I want to run this properly. I want to give it a genuine opportunity to be at its best. Although, for the record, I have ran Vista RTM on this machine before. I ran Vista RTM 32-bit on this machine back when it only had 4 gigs of RAM in it a number of years ago. This would have been probably 2014 or 15 is when I ran Vista RTM. And it did run. Although it did if I never restarted it, it would blue screen after about a month at a time. So not the end of the world, but still annoying. Alright, Windows Vista. And there's a few different installers as well of Vista. And they're all different. I could do videos on all of them. Maybe I should do Ultimate. Nope, I'm gonna do... Dang it. I should have did a poll. I should have did a poll on this. I think I'm gonna put up, even though I'm already recording this, I'm gonna put up a poll after I finish recording this. And then if business wins, no matter what, this video is gonna go up with business. But we're gonna start with business, and then if Ultimate ends up winning that poll, then I'll do another video with Ultimate. How about that? That'll be a good little middle ground. So for now, we're gonna stick with business, because that is what was originally on this machine. I accept the license terms. Windows Vista Business Service Pack 2. And we're going to do custom. And we're going to delete that partition, because I already backed up everything on here. There's nothing on here. And now we're good. I could have, in theory, split the SSD, but with how cheap 120 gig SSDs are, I'm okay with having different drives. The only thing that would make it annoying, of course, is having to manually pull out the drive. So that could be a little annoying. What I need to do is, you know, get a Samsung, get like a 2 terabyte Samsung SSD, and put it either in this machine or in my Dell Optiplex small form factor, because both of those machines have drivers for everything from XP up to Windows 10. And I should just boot everything on it. Literally have XP, Vista, 7, 8, and 10 all booted on it. That would actually make an interesting video, I think. Trying to quad boot all those not even quad boot, whatever the 5 term is, trying to 5 times boot that many systems. Interesting. Well, I guess I probably wouldn't boot 10 on it, because 10's boring. But probably XP, Vista, 7, and 8. Interesting. I don't know, that's a thought I just had that actually might go over well. But yeah, very, very interesting. And now it's just expanding files, which, since it is still installing from a optical disc, it's still going to be relatively slow. If I install this from a USB stick onto the SSD, it definitely would be just about done at this point, even over USB 2.0. So this is definitely interesting. So I might leave this and come back after we see some updates. So if there's a bit of this install that we miss, then I do apologize. But from this point, I'm going to pause it, and we'll resume whenever. So, oh hey, 1%. And we'll resume whenever something notable happens. It's doing things. It's doing things. This is starting. It's doing things. Nope, I'm not gonna fall for that. Nope. Vista. Yay. It's doing things. Oh, I don't want the disk checking. No. Why would it think that it needs to be checked? Probably because it thinks it's a hard drive. But it's not. Please wait while Windows sets up your computer. Yay. Lovely. Oh, now it's things and stuff and items. Yay. Completing install. Oh, I literally, dang it, I was going to show the little loading thing that it was doing, but now it's not. What's it going to do now? No, we're not falling for that. No. Yeah! No! No.
If a Mexican restaurant
Yeah, the video's playing. Is it doing things? Oh, yay! Type in a username. Yeah, let's type in a username. And then we're gonna select the doggo over the fish, the tree, sports ball, doggo, sports ball, and the potato. There's the sausage and there's the potato, and the blub blub, and the AI. All right, let's see. We're gonna type in a username. We're gonna put Vista thing, and we're gonna do we'll do the fishy. I always do the little doggo, but this time I'm gonna mix it up, and we're gonna do the fishy. Why not? And I'm gonna put in the actual computer name. So ThinkPad T500, and we can select a desktop background. I don't know if I should, because usually I always select this one. This is my favorite one. It looks like a macOS wallpaper. That one's really good. I also really like this one. They're both really solid, but then this one's the default. Yeah, there's the green, which looks okay. There's the trees, which, yeah, okay. This one actually isn't bad, but this one's usually my favorite, and then this one's nice and dark. Let's do this one. This one's always my favorite. We'll do this one, like a macOS wallpaper, and we'll use recommended settings. Why not? We are in Central Time. It is currently, 5:57. That looks correct. There we go. Thank you. It's so polite. I love how polite it is. And it's that start right there. Why do modern versions of Windows not be that polite? I mean, I guess they'll say please wait, or they'll say we're taking care of a few things, or whatever. But just Vista just was way more polite. It's the best, in my opinion, and maybe this is controversial. I don't think it is. It shouldn't be. In my opinion, Vista had the best out-of-box experience of any version of Windows, because you could pick everything, including your time zone and wallpaper. It didn't ask you any stupid questions about privacy and app stores and all that. It just asked you, and it even asked you things like the computer name, which I guess, yeah, because Windows doesn't really do that much anymore. Windows doesn't really do that much anymore. You'll pick your account name, but you don't get to pick your wallpaper during the setup screen. You don't get to pick your time zone during the setup, which is insane because most consumers are going to be running their computers on the default time zone and not know how to change it. This makes a ton more sense because you change your time zone right there. That's the biggest omission that offends me, but that's the biggest omission that's stupid with modern versions of Windows, is not letting you pick the time zone. You'd think that'd be kind of important. I mean, you'll pick the country, you'll say United States or Australia or whatever, but you won't pick the time zone. It's really bizarre. I don't know why that's not one of the things that you choose when you're setting up Windows is the time zone. I always have to do it after the fact. And because remember, if the time... Ooh. Because, of course, remember, if the time's wrong, then it's not going to do updates properly. So, well, not always. Sometimes it's close enough that it still works. All right, Vista Business. Preparing... Oh, preparing your desktop. Yes. Yay. Look at that. And I did upgrade this machine to 8 gigs of RAM, which is the max that this T500 supports. And it's the best Core 2 Duo. So this system's pretty much maxed out with this SSD. Now, of course, we don't have, and I'm not going to be one of these terrible YouTubers that does videos on Windows Vista. This annoys me so much. And they don't even have the drivers installed. So not only is Windows Aero not enabled, which is a crime if you're going to do a video on Windows Vista and not have Aero enabled, which, to be fair, I just installed this. There's no drivers yet. But they will do that and then not run the thing with drivers, and they'll be like, it runs like shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it does, because there's no drivers. So, yeah. The system is installed, and the next step will be, of course, to install the drivers before we take a look at the operating system, because if it's all ugly and doesn't look right, then you're doing Vista a disservice, and we're not going to do that on this channel. We love Windows Vista. We're going to do it properly. We are going to eject the disk, though, because we now no longer need this. So now the next step that I got to do is grab a flash drive and find the drivers that I know are stored somewhere on the hard drive of my main computer, and we're going to put those drivers onto the flash drive, plug it into here, and install the drivers. While we wait for all the files to copy over to the USB stick, we're going to look at the box. Yes, I know this is business, but whatever, close enough. Windows Vista Ultimate, the best edition of Windows Vista with more power, security, and mobility features you need for work, and the entertainment and ease you want for fun. It has everything you need to shift seamlessly between the worlds of play and productivity. Just a few of the Windows Vista features inside. Parental controls, Windows Photo Gallery, Windows Aero with Windows Flip 3D, Windows Media Center, Windows Tablet and Touch Technology, BitLocker Drive Encryption, and the Windows Ultimate Extras. And then there's all that, which you probably can't read properly. WindowsVista.com. This is the upgrade for users running Microsoft Windows 2000 Professional, Windows XP, or Windows Vista only. Backup and clean install may be required. Although, again, I was never able to get it to properly activate using the method that it says it needs to. At least to go from business to ultimate. A world above and beyond Windows XP, which is true. Vista is so much nicer than Windows XP. Windows Ready Boost as well. Windows Mobility Center. Media Center, which is definitely not present on business, unfortunately. And there's no way to add it in the add and remove features, which is the biggest reason why I don't like the business SKU as much as Ultimate. This is back when Ultimate actually was Ultimate, because I feel like Windows 7 Ultimate is just boring. Because for Windows 7, I always just run Professional, because Ultimate doesn't really add anything that I can think of that Professional doesn't have for Windows 7. And I've never owned a copy of Windows 7 Ultimate because Windows 7 is so popular that copies of 7 Ultimate are still worth a good amount of money. So, yeah, that's that. So we'll come back later on after this is copied and we can install the drivers and properly explore Windows Vista and even install the accompanying Office software. Anyways, just for this portion, Intelitech Mobile signing out. Have a good one. Peace. The most complete edition of Windows. Windows Vista.